I spent the last 4 years creating the world's largest community voice acting project with the help of over 400 volunteers. In this video, I will go over how the project started, things I learned along the way, and challenges we had to overcome. This is the story of Voices of Wynn. Wynncraft is a vast Minecraft MMORPG server where you can level up classes, slay bosses, discover secrets, and most importantly, experience a rich narrative through numerous quests and more. The story is delivered through dialogues and cutscenes, with animations and text for players to read. One day in late 2020, as I zoned out during yet another long dialogue, an idea struck me. What if instead of reading, I could sit back and listen to the characters speak?
What did you do to my daughter? What is wrong with you?
I had little coding experience at this time, so with this idea, I headed to the Discord server of the biggest Wynncraft mod, Wynntils, and suggested that they implement voice acting. They basically said that would be too much work, so I decided to take it into my own hands. Little did I know at that time how right they were, and how much of my own sweat, tears, and hundreds of hours I would need to spend to bring this idea to life. The goal in the beginning was not to add the greatest voice acting, but simply real voices to every character, which would also allow more people to experience Wynncraft, that for example have dyslexia. The first step was to create a Minecraft mod, which is a file that players can add to their game to enable additional behavior. This mod needed to play different audio files corresponding to various in-game dialogues. There's just one tiny problem. I had no idea how to create a mod. For this, I started looking for a developer on the Wynncraft forums. After a long time of searching, one person heeded a call, but after some weeks, he had only set up an empty project without any functionality. Determined to bring my vision of this project to life, I realized that no one else would do the coding for me, so I had to learn Minecraft modding myself. I had previously done some parts of a free Java course from a Finnish university, which gave me a good base knowledge of Java programming, which is the language that is used in Minecraft mods. After a few weeks of watching YouTube tutorials, reading guides, and banging my head on my keyboard because I had no clue what I was doing, I had created a simple mod which allowed for sound files to be played upon dialogues being encountered in-game. To achieve this, I use a hash map, also known as a dictionary, and every time a dialogue in-game is encountered, it checks if the dialogue is in it, and if it is, it plays the audio file which is linked to it. The good side of this is that dictionaries have constant runtime.
Dictionaries? Ugh! I swear, if I hear one more terribly named variable, I will jump into the molten heights, you hear?
Sorry Mushroom, I'll try to keep it less technical. I thought the hardest part was now over, but I had vastly underestimated the amount of dialogue in Wynncraft. We needed more people for this project, mainly voice actors, but also some writers that could clean up and write the scripts for voice actors. For this, I decided to create a public Discord server, which I got people to join by making a forum post and shouting of this project on the Wynncraft server, and anyone who was interested, I will send an invite to. One of the first writers that joined was Shady, who wrote a lot of the scripts in the early days and later on became the lead writer, managing all other writers. In these early days, we had a channel in which people could simply claim any role they wanted and it would be theirs. To avoid voices getting too repetitive, we had a limit of one major role per person. While I now see that having very little requirements for quality back then was a necessary step to get the project going, it did lead to problems and hate later on. We kept on collecting game logs, writing scripts, and soon had our first quest finished, which only had one character in it, which I got a friend to voice.
Oh, you brought a piece of skin back. How odd.
After people claimed the role, they simply sent me the recorded audio files and direct messages to me, which as the project grew, led to a wall of notifications. Once I got the lines, I put them in the only editing program I knew, DaVinci Resolve. And yes, that is a video editing program. I painfully placed markers manually to cut the audio into one file per dialogue so that the entire voice acting would play once you encountered it.
Excuse me? What are you doing here?
This is because back then, dialogue in Wynncraft did auto-continue and missed the feature Wynncraft has today, where players need to give input to go to the next line. So with this, we did not have to time every single sentence to Wynncraft's lightning-fast dialogue, which would have forced everyone to become rappers.
Well, until now, that is. Would you be willing to help? You would? You're a lifesaver. I'll meet you at the village. Just follow the path out of town.
With the project being new, and with me advertising it with multiple shouts per day, we had quite a few people interested in voicing some characters. Soon I realized that allowing people to just being able to claim any role they desired would not be a stable system moving forward. For this I found someone who said he knew how to code Discord bots and said he would create a bot to handle auditions for us. But the person never ended up delivering anything. So I yet again watched a bunch of YouTube tutorials, read a bunch of guides and banged my head on my keyboard for a few days, and then I had a bot in which we could publish quests with roles and people could react to open audition channels for their chosen character, and in the end we could set who got the role with a command. With this new bot, we opened up a new role called Voice Manager, which will be people who vote and decide who gets a role. And now we had a system in which everyone has a fair chance to get a role, which also made sure that no one who was completely horrible would get a role. To increase participation and encourage more people to voice characters, we initially kept the mod in closed beta, accessible only to contributors. Later, we extended access to Patreon supporters. For the next 2 months, the project was nearly on hold, as I was away on a sailing trip. During this slow period, the initial excitement faded, and the project began to lose momentum. When I returned and reopened auditions, there were very few responses, leading to some mediocre voice acting for some roles. By October, we found a solution to our problem by using Casting Call Club, a site for voice actors. Although we couldn't afford to hire voice actors, we had enough funds to pay for the site's premium tier, which allowed us to feature our project on their landing page. This led to a significant increase in high-quality auditions. The project progressed smoothly. We had dialogues for nearly all quests, writers actively working, and roles frequently published. I now edited the files using Audacity, a free audio editing program that simplified my work by allowing me to place markers and export files efficiently.
No good sailor would be caught dead without some good old Nemrat whiskey.
In addition to this, I started learning more about audio engineering by watching tutorials and reading guides. Shady, our lead scriptwriter, offered a code website for the project. Given my past experience with developers who didn't follow through, I was skeptical. However, in August, Shady completed the website. I then set up some continuous integration workflow for it to automatically deploy the site changes when updates needed to be made, using GitHub Actions in combination with Docker to run the application. For this, I also decided to learn Docker through a quick tutorial online.
Oh, a quick tutorial online, huh? Well, I guess you aren't as smart as you make yourself out to be.
Mushroom, all coders use tutorials to learn.
Well, I don't care. Shut up.
This site showcased the entire mod's content, and all voice actors received accounts for credit recognition.
I see you want to venture into the wilderness.
Since we use Discord to manage the voice acting, I integrated commands into the bot to automatically create accounts from Discord, including syncing profile pictures if none were provided. Later in August, we came to the conclusion that we had lost the reason to keep the project in closed beta. Most of the auditions now came from Casting Call Club, and with this, we saw it fitting to give everyone access to the beta version of the mod. This release unfortunately received negative feedback from many people in the Wynncraft community, particularly about the voice acting from the project's early days when we had fewer auditions and less talent to choose from. This criticism left me feeling demotivated, and progress slowed. I even considered abandoning the project. At this point, I did however reflect on the hundreds of hours I had invested, all the amazing people who had helped, and how my life for the past 9 months had revolved around studying, working out, and developing this mod. Would I just let all this time go to waste? I decided no. It was time to get back on the horse and keep this project going, taking all the negative feedback and channeling it to make this mod the greatest it could be. This required a bunch of recasts of previously cast roles. One of the hardest decisions we had to make is recast Laurie, one of the biggest characters in Wynncraft. The voice actor had recorded hundreds of lines, and while the voice acting was good, the microphone quality was not.
The proper thought and caution, then those around you will suffer.
A similar process had to be done with quite a few other characters. With us continuously improving all the voice acting while also working on the remaining quests, we soon had all the quests voiced. But in the same month we finished the last quest, Wynncraft released its 2.0 update, reworking a ton of quests and adding a bunch of new ones. In this same month, Wyntilts, the biggest Wynncraft mod, also decided to upgrade to a newer Minecraft version. This required us to also change version and to make an almost complete rewrite of the mod, taking a bunch of time. With us having so much to do now, I developed a program to streamline the process of adding new dialogues to the mod. Previously, I had to copy each line into the mod's registration class. To simplify this, I decided to learn how to create WPF applications. And after watching YouTube tutorials, reading a bit, and of course, banging my head on my keyboard, I had a program that automated that process. This tool checked if all the necessary audio files were presented and generated the required code for the quests. With me still doing all the sound editing, we decided in November to try to find some other people to become sound editors. Their work was mainly cutting up audio files into one file per line, but also performing some simple audio engineering. we kept and still keep on searching for more sound editors all the time. This was also a needed add-on to the team, since at this time, the Wynncraft update came out, with 1 line per continuation per dialogue. So we now had to cut up all the dialogues into 1 line per audio file instead of 1 dialogue. With me already having spent so many hours through multiple years on working on this project, I started to get a little bit burned out of this project. So at this time, we luckily recruited a new admin who ended up driving the project forward quite a lot. She got logs and fixed scripts for a bunch of quests, as well as all secret discoveries and boss altars. She opened auditions, set up polls for voice managers to vote on, sent the files to our trade-up voice editors, which edited them, and in the end she sent the finished files to me, so I only had to integrate them into the mod. With this, the project still kept on going with quite good speed, with me just managing some stuff and looking over that everything was functioning well. In October, I decided I wanted to experiment around with server connections, so I decided to create a version of the mod called VowCloud, where I set it up so that clients connect to a server, send their encounter dialogue lines to it, and if we have the dialogue voiced, simply stream that audio directly at the correct position in the world. And since we did not have any real benefit for people that have helped with the project or our patrons, I decided to only give these people access to it. With this version, they got more frequent voice acting updates, while only needing a mod file that is a few megabytes instead of almost a gigabyte like the normal version, which contains all the voice acting directly. Since you for sounds in Minecraft's audio system need to register all the sounds at startup, I had to for VowCloud create a different audio playback system, which I after that also integrated into the normal version, which means that now all the sounds don't need to be registered on startup.
One big problem that we always had was that we could not publish the main version of the mod on Modrinth, which is one of the biggest mod distributing platforms since they had a 500 megabyte file limit. For this, and to make it easier for users, I coded the system into the normal version of the mod to download the audio files when the game started and added some audio streaming capabilities for when the files were not downloaded yet. With this, everyone now got continuous updates, so there was no longer a reason to keep VowCloud, so we retired it. I then also realized that the new audio streaming system that I developed, we just sent an HTTP request to our server that is closest to you, worked so well that I disabled the downloading of all files by default. I then also added a new feature to our premium VIP supporters where they can request to have a new data center added, and now we are here. We keep on updating the mod, adding new lines for changes and new quests, and are still always looking for more people to help. Working on this project has been an incredible journey of learning new technologies and honing my skills. If there's something you've been dreaming of creating, my advice is simple. Start now. Even if everyone tells you no. You might not have all the skills yet, and what you create will not be perfect at first. But the only way to reach your goals is by taking that first step. Take that first step towards unlocking your true potential. Take that first step, because every journey starts with just one.